The package arrived at Maria Romano's door on a gray March morning in 1998, 6 weeks after Frank Sinatra's funeral. She was 73 years old, living alone in a small apartment in Hoboken, New Jersey, the same neighborhood where Francis Albert Sinatra had been born 82 years earlier. Inside the package was a shoebox, carefully wrapped in brown paper. No return address, just her name written in handwriting she didn't recognize. When Maria opened it, her hands began to shake so violently she had to sit down on her kitchen floor. Inside were 37 photographs she'd never seen before, and one letter. Every single photograph was of her, Maria at 19, singing at a USO show in 1944, her dark hair swept up in the style all the girls wore during the war. Maria at the Paramount Theater in 1943, standing in the wings while thousands of Bobby Soxers screamed for the skinny singer on stage. Maria at Patsy's restaurant in 1946, laughing at something off camera, a breadstick in her hand. Maria and Frank sitting together on the fire escape of his parents' building on Garden Street, their feet dangling over Hoboken streets, both of them barely 20 years old. She hadn't known any of these photographs existed. Someone had been documenting moments she'd forgotten, preserving a history she thought had disappeared with her youth. The letter was typed on Reprise record stationery, dated February 12, 1998, 3 months before Frank died. Dear Maria, if you're reading this, then Jilly kept his word and you received these after I was gone. That bum actually came through for once. I'm sitting here in my house in Beverly Hills, looking at these pictures for the 1,000th time, and I realize something. I've been a coward for 52 years. It's a long time to be yellow, even for a saloon singer from Hoboken. You probably don't remember most of these moments. Why would you? They were just regular days to you. But I remembered every single one, so I asked my buddy Joey to follow us around with his camera in the old days. He thought I was crazy, wasting film on boring stuff. But I knew even then that I'd want to remember. I wanted to remember the girl who knew me before I was Frank Sinatra, the girl who called me Francis and told me I sang flat when I got cocky, the girl who made me laugh so hard I forgot I was hungry during the Depression, the girl I should have married. Maria had to stop reading. The letter blurred through her tears, and she was transported back to 1942, to a Hoboken that didn't exist anymore, to a version of herself that seemed like a dream. She'd been Maria Benedetto then, daughter of Giuseppe Benedetto, who ran the corner grocery on Washington Street. Frank Sinatra was the neighbor kid who'd made it, sort of. He was singing with Harry James's band, then Tommy Dorsey, making decent money but still coming home to Hoboken between gigs, still eating his mother Dolly's pasta, still the same Francis from Garden Street. They'd grown up together, not romantically at first, just two Italian kids in a neighborhood full of Italian kids, all of them trying to make something of themselves in a country that sometimes looked down on people with names like Benedetto and Sinatra. But somewhere between Frank's first radio appearance and his explosion at the Paramount Theater, something had shifted. Maria couldn't pinpoint the exact moment. Maybe it was the night in 1943 when he'd come home from a tour and found her singing at a local church fundraiser. He'd stood in the back, listening, and afterward, he'd said, "You got something, Maria. Really? You could make it." Or maybe it was earlier, in 1941, when her father had died and Frank had shown up at the funeral, missed a gig to be there, and sat with her family through the whole night, just being present. By 1944, they were inseparable whenever he was in town. Not dating exactly. Frank was married to Nancy by then, and Maria was being courted by Anthony Romano, a nice boy who worked at the shipyard. But there was something between her and Frank that neither of them talked about, a connection that felt bigger than romance, deeper than friendship. She forced herself to keep reading the letter. That night in 1945, after we recorded I'll Never Smile Again, and it hit #1, you remember what you said to me? We were walking along the Hudson, and I was going on and on about maybe doing movies, about buying my parents a house, about all the things that were going to happen. And you stopped walking and you looked at me with those serious eyes, and you said, "Francis, don't forget who you are. Don't let them turn you into somebody you're not." I didn't understand what you meant then. I thought I'd never forget. I thought success wouldn't change me. I was wrong, Maria. I forgot almost immediately. By 1946, I was in Hollywood, making movies, surrounded by people who wanted something from me. Nancy and I were fighting all the time. I was drinking too much, running around with Ava Gardner, making a fool of myself in the gossip columns. I became exactly the kind of guy I used to hate, the kind who forgot where he came from. You wrote me 3 letters that year. I still have them. You didn't lecture me or tell me I was screwing up. You just told me about Hoboken, about your mother's garden, about the new butcher shop on Monroe Street, about normal life. You were trying to give me an anchor, and I was too stupid to grab it. In 1947, you married Tony Romano. I got the wedding invitation while I was in Hollywood, in the middle of my divorce from Nancy, in the middle of my affair with Ava, in the middle of my career falling apart because I'd lost my voice and my judgment. I didn't come to your wedding. I told myself it was because I was too busy, because the press would make it a circus, because it wasn't appropriate. But the truth is, I couldn't stand to watch you marry someone else. Even though I had no right to feel that way, even though I'd thrown away any chance I had with you years before. I sent you a silver serving platter from Tiffany's. You probably don't even remember. It was impersonal and expensive and meaningless. Exactly the kind of gift the new Frank Sinatra would send. The old Francis would have shown up with a bottle of wine and sung All of Me at your reception and made everyone laugh. But I wasn't that guy anymore. Maria remembered the silver platter. It had been so fancy, so out of place in their small apartment. Tony had wanted to return it, said it was too much. But Maria had kept it, used it every Thanksgiving for 50 years, and never told anyone why she couldn't bring herself to get rid of it. She picked up one of the photographs. It showed her and Frank at what looked like a street festival, probably the Feast of St. Anne, both of them eating Zeppel and laughing. She was wearing a simple cotton dress, and Frank had his sleeves rolled up, no fancy suit, just a regular kid. The photograph captured something she'd forgotten, how easy everything had been before fame, before expectations, before life got complicated. The letter continued. Here's what I never told you. Every major decision I made for the rest of my life, I thought about what you would say. When I recorded In the Wee Small Hours in 1955, the album that saved my career, I was thinking about our conversations on that fire escape, about how you said music should make people feel less alone. When I stood up to the mob guys who wanted to control me, I remembered you saying, "Don't let them turn you into somebody you're not." When I campaigned for Kennedy, when I fought with the press, when I decided to record my way, all of it, Maria, I was trying to be the guy you thought I could be. I saw you one more time, 1973, at your husband, Tony's funeral. I came back to Hoboken, wore dark glasses, sat in the back of the church. You probably didn't even know I was there. You looked so sad, so tired, and I wanted to go to you, to tell you I was sorry about Tony, sorry about everything. But I was Frank Sinatra by then, and Frank Sinatra showing up would have made it about me instead of about Tony, and you deserved better than that. So I sat in the back, and I cried for Tony, who was a good man, and I cried for you. And I cried for the life we might have had if I'd been smarter and braver and less of a damn fool. After that, I kept tabs on you. Don't be creeped out. I just wanted to know you were okay. I knew when your son became a lawyer. I knew when your daughter had twins. I knew you volunteered at the church, taught English to new immigrants, sang in the choir. You had a good life, Maria. A real life. The kind of life I traded for spotlights and applause. These photographs, I've kept them in my safe for 50 years. They're my most valuable possession, though they're not worth a dime to anyone but me. They remind me of who I was before I became Old Blue Eyes, before the Capitol Tower and the Rat Pack and Vegas and all of it. They remind me of the last time I was really, truly happy. I want you to have them now. I want you to remember that time too, if you can. I want you to know that every love song I ever sang, I was singing to you. The way you look tonight, Come Fly With Me, The Best Is Yet to Come, all of them. Nancy and Ava and Mia and Barbara, they all got versions of Frank Sinatra. But you had Francis, and Francis never stopped loving you. I know it's too late. I know I don't deserve forgiveness. I know I made my choices and I have to live with them. But I wanted you to know, before I'm gone, that you were the one. You were always the one. Maybe in another life, I'll be smarter. Maybe in another life, I'll be the man you thought I could be. Until then, keep singing. I bet you still got those pipes. Love always. Frances Maria sat on her kitchen floor for 2 hours, looking through the photographs one by one, crying harder than she'd cried when Tony died, harder than she'd cried when her son moved to California, harder than she'd cried in her entire adult life. Because Frank was right. She had forgotten most of these moments. The war years were a blur of USO shows and victory gardens and Western Union telegrams announcing deaths. The late 40s were about building a life with Tony, having babies, making ends meet. She'd packed away her singing dreams, put away the girl who used to harmonize with Francis on fire escapes, became Mrs. Romano, mother and wife and eventually grandmother. But looking at these photographs, she remembered. She remembered how Francis used to practice his phrasing with her, trying out different ways to sing a line, asking her opinion like it mattered. She remembered how they'd walk along the Hudson after his shows, and he'd be wired and excited and scared all at once, and she'd tell him to breathe, to trust his talent, to stay true to himself. She remembered the night before he left for his first big tour with Tommy Dorsey. They'd sat on that fire escape until dawn, not talking much, just being together. And right before the sun came up, he'd said, "If I make it big, Maria, I'm taking you with me, I promise." But he hadn't. He'd taken Nancy, then Ava, then a parade of women whose names appeared in gossip columns, and Maria had married Tony, who was steady and kind, and nothing like the skinny dreamer from Garden Street who'd promised her the moon. Tony had been a good husband. She'd loved him, truly. But she'd always carried a small piece of her heart that belonged to a boy named Francis who'd sung to her on fire escapes, who'd believed she could be someone special, who'd made her feel like the world was full of possibility. The next day, Maria called the one person she trusted with this secret, her daughter, Angela. "Mom, are you okay? You sound strange." "Angela, I need to show you something. Can you come over?" When Angela arrived, Maria had the photographs spread across her dining room table like a museum exhibition. She handed her daughter the letter without saying a word. Angela read it twice, her eyes growing wider with each line. "Mom, is this real? Frank Sinatra wrote this to you?" "Not Frank Sinatra," Maria corrected gently. "Francis, the boy I knew before he became Frank Sinatra." Were you in love with him?" Maria considered the question. At 73, she'd learned that love wasn't a simple thing, wasn't just one story. "I loved your father very much," she said carefully. "But yes, I loved Francis too. We were just kids and life took us different directions, that's all." "But Mom, this letter, he's saying you were the love of his life. He kept these pictures for 50 years. And I kept his serving platter for 50 years, Maria said with a small smile. "We both held on to something, I guess." Over the following weeks, Maria found herself returning to the photographs again and again, each one unlocking memories she thought she'd lost. She remembered songs Francis had taught her, jokes they'd shared, dreams they'd spun together in the innocence of youth. She also realized something that Frank's letter hadn't explicitly said, but was written between every line. He'd been lonely. Surrounded by millions of fans, married 4 times, friend to presidents and mobsters and movie stars, and he'd been profoundly lonely for the simple connection they'd shared when they were just 2 kids from Hoboken who loved music. In May 1998, on what would have been Frank's 83rd birthday, Maria did something she'd never done publicly. She went to a small jazz club in Greenwich Village, the kind of place Frank would have loved in his early days, and she sang. She was 73 years old. Her voice wasn't what it used to be, cracked in places, couldn't hit the high notes anymore. But when she sang "The Way You Look Tonight," the small crowd of maybe 30 people fell completely silent, because what her voice lacked in range, it made up for in truth. Every word carried weight, carried history, carried love and loss and a lifetime of living. After she finished, a young man approached her. Couldn't have been more than 25. "Ma'am, that was beautiful. Did you used to sing professionally?" Maria smiled. "No, honey. I just sang for someone special a long time ago." "Well, you should have. You're better than most of the people on the radio." She thought about Francis's letter, about him saying she could have made it. Maybe he was right. Maybe she could have had her own recording contract, her own moment in the spotlight. But she'd chosen differently, and that was okay. She'd had a good life with Tony, raised 2 wonderful children, taught dozens of immigrants to speak English, sang in her church choir for 40 years. Different didn't mean worse. That summer, Maria received a call from a man who identified himself as an attorney for Frank Sinatra's estate. "Mrs. Romano, I'm calling about a provision in Mr. Sinatra's will. He left a bequest for you." "A what?" "He established a music scholarship in your name at Hoboken High School. It's funded in perpetuity, will provide full music education scholarships for talented students who might not otherwise afford it. He specified that recipients should be chosen not just for talent, but for authenticity and heart, which he said you would understand." Maria had to sit down. "Francis did that?" "Yes, ma'am. The first scholarship will be awarded this fall. We'll need you to be part of the selection committee if you're willing." She was willing. For the next 8 years, until her death in 2006, Maria Romano helped choose scholarship recipients. She listened to hundreds of young singers, and she always asked them the same question: "Why do you sing?" The ones who talked about fame and money and being on TV, she passed over. But the ones who said things like, "Because it makes me feel less alone," or "Because it's the only way I know how to tell the truth," those were the ones who got the scholarship. Those were the ones Francis would have chosen. At Maria's funeral, her daughter Angela told the story publicly for the first time. She showed the photographs to a small gathering of family and friends, read portions of Frank's letter, explained the scholarship. "My mother," Angela said, "could have been bitter about the life she didn't have, but she wasn't. She understood something important, that love doesn't always look like the movies. Sometimes love is keeping someone's silver platter for 50 years. Sometimes love is photographs in a safe. Sometimes love is a scholarship for kids who need a chance." My mother and Frank Sinatra didn't get their fairy tale ending, but they got something else. They got to matter to each other, deeply and truly, and they got to carry that mattering through their whole lives. That's its own kind of beautiful. Among the mourners was an elderly man in dark glasses who no one recognized. He stayed for the whole service, placed a single white rose on Maria's casket, and was gone before anyone could ask his name. But Angela noticed something when the man turned to leave. He was humming "The Way You Look Tonight," very softly, in a voice that cracked with age but still carried perfect phrasing. She smiled. Some mysteries didn't need solving. In 2008, a music historian researching Frank Sinatra's early years discovered something interesting in the Hoboken Public Library archives. A recording from a 1944 USO show, never released, never cataloged properly. Most of the tape was damaged, but one song was crystal clear. It was a duet, Frank Sinatra and an unknown female vocalist singing "All of Me." Their voices blended perfectly, his smooth baritone and her warm alto, trading lines and harmonizing like they'd been singing together their whole lives. At the end of the recording, you can hear Sinatra say, off mic but still audible, That's how it's supposed to sound, folks. That right there. And a female voice laughing, "Stop it, Francis. You're going to give me a big head." "Too late, Benedetto. You already got one." The historian tried to identify the female singer, but there were no records. The USO show's documentation had been lost. The woman remained a mystery, just a beautiful voice on an old tape, singing with one of the greatest vocalists of all time, their chemistry undeniable even across 7 decades. The recording was eventually released as part of a Sinatra Rarities collection. Music critics noted the remarkable intimacy between Sinatra and the unknown vocalist, the way they seemed to breathe together, anticipate each other's phrasing, communicate something beyond just the lyrics. One reviewer wrote, "This may be the most emotionally honest recording Sinatra ever made. You can hear him not as the voice, but as a man, singing to someone who really knows him. It's stunning and heartbreaking all at once." But the recording only lasted 3 minutes and 42 seconds. After that, the tape ended, and both voices disappeared into history. In Hoboken today, there's a small plaque outside what used to be 415 Monroe Street, where Frank Sinatra was born. Tourists come to take pictures, to stand where old Blue Eyes once stood. What they don't know is that 3 buildings down, at 421 Monroe Street, is another piece of the story. The building where Maria Benedetto grew up, where she and Francis used to sit on the fire escape and dream about the future, is now a restaurant. Sometimes, late at night when the restaurant is closed, people walking by swear they hear music. A man and a woman singing together, harmonizing perfectly, their voices young and full of hope. It's probably just the wind, or maybe a radio from a nearby apartment. But maybe, just maybe, it's the sound of what might have been, echoing through time, reminding us that some love stories don't need Hollywood endings to be real. Some love stories just need to be remembered. And in Hoboken, on quiet nights when the Hudson River reflects the city lights, when the streets are empty and the world feels gentle, Francis and Maria are still there. 2 kids on a fire escape, singing their hearts out, believing that anything is possible. Because once upon a time, before he was Frank Sinatra, before she was Mrs. Romano, before life got complicated and choices were made and paths diverged, once upon a time, they were just Francis and Maria, and they had the whole world ahead of them. That was enough. That was everything.